Dorothy Arnold, the daughter who was part of one of New York's wealthiest families, who went dress shopping and then simply vanished.
Dorothy Arnold disappeared on December 2nd, 1910 in New York City. She was the second to 4 children. She was a daughter to Mary Arnold and Frances Arnold, a well-known perfume importer and niece to the United States Supreme Court Justice. Her paternal side of the family had arrived from England, and her maternal side was Canadian. Due to the family's success of having attended Harvard University and being senior partners at large companies, the family were high up in the social ladder, and Dorothy was known as a society girl. Dorothy had majored in literature and language and had graduated in 1905. Shortly after, she had begun working as a writer. She had submitted 2 short stories to McClure's magazine, and both had been rejected. Dorothy had asked her father if she could move out of the family home to try and write, but he rejected the idea. In December 1910, Dorothy's sister Marjorie was bound to have her debutante party, and so on December 12th, Dorothy went shopping for a dress. Her mother offered to join, but Dorothy refused. She left the family house at around 11 a.m. and went to Park and Tilford on the corner of 5th Avenue. She had around $25 that day and had supposedly withdrawn an additional $36 the day prior. She had bought some chocolates and a book and bumped into her friend Gladys, with whom she chatted for a while, before supposedly leaving to walk home through Central Park. The last time she was seen was around 2 p.m. that day.
Do we really think, Chip, that Dorothy could have gone out and have been kidnapped on what is, this is a busy place. There are lots of eyeballs, there's lots of people. Do you actually think that she could have been kidnapped?
Central Park, busiest place in New York, 1910 though, no CCTV cutting about. It's a little bit different. It's 100 years ago, stuff is different. And people are so fixated in New York on walking forward and walking fast, and fucking no one really cares about anyone else around them.
Yeah.
It could really be easy for someone to just kind of snatch her away, pull to the side.
I think it's actually harder to notice something when it's really busy. Because there's so many people, it's not like you're concentrating on what everyone's doing, so I don't think you would necessarily notice if someone was getting kidnapped. But the thing is, if somebody was getting kidnapped, let's say Dorothy was, would she be going like, oi, aye, like shouting and screaming? And then in that case, obviously people are gonna notice.
Yeah.
Or was it done more on the sly? Was it Central Park?
Yeah, they could have grabbed her as well with the chloroform.
Did they have that?
And then you're knocked out then, and I'm just dragging you into an alley.
Have you done that before? That seemed a little too real, bro. I actually don't think just because she was in a really busy place that it is completely out of question that she got kidnapped. You can still get kidnapped in a busy place.
Yeah, you can, it's true.
Dorothy would always inform her family if she wasn't going to be home for lunch or dinner, and so her family became concerned straight away. They began calling Dorothy's friends, but no one knew of her whereabouts. Shortly after midnight, one of Dorothy's friends, Elsie Henry, had called and asked whether Dorothy had returned. Mary, Dorothy's mother, lied to Elsie, telling her that Dorothy was back and went to bed with a headache. It was weeks before the family even contacted the police about their missing daughter.
I'm sorry, I just don't understand how they didn't want to tell the police or go to the police first. I get that, okay, look, things were different back in the day. 1910, it was a lot more about like your social status. This was a family really at the top of New York. And I guess it coming out that your daughter has gone missing is probably a bad look for the family, but it's your family.
Yeah, like back then it's like, it was all about respect. You didn't want to be embarrassed, like you're the top dons of New York.
How's your daughter gone missing?
Yeah, it's not a good look. But at the same time, like, it's your family. But maybe they were one of those families that really did care about image.
I mean, we've seen it, especially over in the US, image is a lot. We've had a few cases where these families care so much about having that perfect image of like an American family. And maybe that's what they had as well. But I just think it's pretty crazy that you wouldn't go to the police to find your daughter who could be kidnapped because it might be socially embarrassing. But this is, like you said, over 100 years ago, things were different.
The American dream.
Well,
not for her.
Not getting
not anymore.
not getting your child kidnapped, but...
Although they took weeks to contact the police, the family did secretly contact a family friend and lawyer on the morning of December 13th, John Keefe. He came to the family house to look for clues and concluded she had not run away, as all her belongings were in place. The only questionable item he found was burnt sheets of paper in the fireplace. These papers were flyers of certain passenger ships coming into the US from Europe. He went and checked hospitals, jails, and even morgues in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston, but found nothing. He went looking at friends and connections in other cities too. With his lack of results, he suggested expanding onto the Pinkerton Detectives to help, a company which became famous for preventing an assassination attempt on Abraham Lincoln. Pinkerton detectives were sent abroad and overseas but came back empty-handed. This led to the family to finally contact the police 6 weeks after she was last seen. The family detective, alongside Pinkerton detectives and Francis, called the Deputy Police Commissioner William J. Flynn. The police aimed to do the opposite of what the family's initial goal was and aimed to hold a press conference to attract a lot of publicity. Finally, the father Francis gave a press conference and announced he was offering a $1,000 reward to anybody who could help, which would amount to around $29,000 today. By January 1911, the Arnold family had given up hope and believed Dorothy to be dead, even though the police still believed she was alive and would return. The family had received 2 ransom notes asking for more than $5,000, but both were proven to be fake. There were many alleged sightings of her, but none were confirmed. Finally, Francis received a postcard which was signed from Dorothy and said, quote, "I am safe." Although the handwriting was similar to hers, Francis believed somebody copied her handwriting and played a cruel prank. Shortly after, NYPD stopped investigating and believed Dorothy to be dead. The commissioner said, "The girl has now been missing for 75 days, and in all that time, not a single clue has been found that was worth the name."
Now all of that really makes me think, I don't think the family are maybe that involved in it as much, because look, I get it. If it's you and me nowadays, in this day and age, we go straight to the police. But they did make contact pretty quickly after, and they just did it like in more of a private setting. They did it through
private investigators, lawyers, so they did do something. Like straight away they had the lawyer in looking for clues.
And then another reason why as well is that ultimately the family come in and they do the press conference anyways. So it wasn't like, if it was really them, then they would have just said no to the press conference and all of that stuff the entire time. So the fact that they did come and they did end up offering some sort of a reward, I still don't know if that is a lot. I mean, it's $29,000 today, but I'm still pretty sure that that's not that much for your child.
Yeah, like,
especially for a really wealthy family, right?
My child goes missing today. I'm scaling it. I'll start with 10 grand first day, but I'll go maximum 50. If it goes above 50, fuck it.
Right. So if you ever kidnap Chip's child,
you won't be getting much.
Well, no. Just don't give in on day one, because you know the price is going to go up.
Well, I'm stopping at 50.
Okay, so you just wait till he hits 50. You got to be a pretty sick or twisted person, by the way, to pretend to be a missing person. The fact that you would send in that postcard, they did say it had similar handwriting, though.
That's what I mean.
Do you think it actually could have been her?
Francis believed that somebody had copied the handwriting and played a prank, like, but that is like, you can believe something, but it doesn't mean it's true. Like, it could potentially still be her, no? Like,
yeah, especially early on, it might just be one of those things like, look, it's finally gone out to police, right, I'm gonna send the family a little note, just say like, I'm okay, I escaped that life, leave me alone.
I feel like they shouldn't be like throwing that out too early. Like, it could still be her.
It could, but the other thing that I would say is the fact that just saying I am safe, that is just a bit of a crap thing to say. Like, what you would do is you would send them an I am safe thing and maybe like a letter of reasoning, like why you did it, why you ran away.
Maybe she didn't want to give that. Maybe she didn't want to give it.
Yeah, but otherwise it's just I am safe. Like, that's fucking useless.
Yeah, maybe she's just a bit thick.
I mean, no, because the family, they were a very wealthy and educated family, so that she's not. It was just, I don't know. If that was her, that was a howler of a postcard, and you've done nobody any favors.
I wonder what postcard it was, maybe like Bahamas.
Yeah, that was
wish you were here.
Theory number 1. Francis believed that she could have been killed in Central Park on her walk home and disposed of in the Central Park Reservoir. Similarly, he also believed she could have been kidnapped and murdered in Central Park. Ultimately, by April, they strongly believed she was murdered. They started to tell the police to give up their search. However, the reservoir was frozen solid at the time as it was -6 degrees. After the reservoir had melted, the police searched the water anyway, but found nothing.
Killed in Central Park. Now, if someone could get kidnapped, but could they actually be killed in Central Park? I don't think so. I think...
No, there's been killings in Central Park before, though.
But surely they've been caught pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's not a place where you could kill and hide a body for that long. I'm certain. I reckon you could kill someone in Central Park, maybe keep a body there for a day or two, maybe in like a really bit where there's
We have to remember, Central Park 1 is actually really big.
Massive.
So, yeah, like it's a long walk if you want to go around it, right? And then second of all, we have to remember this is 100 years ago. Central Park probably looked very different.
Yeah, not as many walkways, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like a little bit like
bit more rogue.
less built out, that kind of vibe. Maybe back then the potential was there.
My question is, here it says that the family asked the police to give up the search. Do you not think it was just a bit early? Like, would you ever really, after what was it, 75 days, really tell the police, yo, give up?
I'm
She's
thinking
gone.
the family is maybe like, you know, they want to stop going through the grief, you know, the pain, and because as the case continues, the search goes on, they're still suffering, right?
Yeah.
And if they genuinely do believe that she's dead, 75 days is a long time, to be fair. That's 2.5 months of just not hearing a peep.
I don't know. I think, but that's the thing. I think if it's
so
my family, maybe
in their minds, they're like, can you just stop this now? Like, it's obviously over.
Right.
It's different for every family. I probably wouldn't give up like that. I'd probably be searching for years.
Yeah.
But I'd stop at 2.5 years. I've got that in my mind.
Right, that's another thing. Chip, we'll stop looking for you after 2.5 years.
Yep.
Theory number 2. It was cold and slippery that day and she could have easily slipped on the pavement. This fall could have resulted in a concussion, but it is hard to believe that no one saw her. In addition, John went looking around hospitals on the days after her disappearance and came back empty-handed.
Being perfectly honest with you, I just think this is a bit of a crap theory, honestly. Like, did they really get injured? And surely the body would just be there. She slipped, she fell. Cool, someone should just walk past and find her. Like,
find her. I don't know. I imagine they searched the whole of Central Park, even though it's that big. If it's someone this, you know, high up, renowned, then I imagine Central Park got swept top to bottom.
Theory number 3. During the initial press conference in January, reporters had asked Francis whether it was possible for Dorothy to run away with a man and to have eloped, since Francis didn't allow her to date. Francis responded by claiming he never denied her dating anyone and said, quote, "I would have been glad to see her associate more with young men than she did, especially some young men of brains and position, one whose profession or business would keep him occupied. I don't approve of young men who have nothing to do." After some digging, journalists found out Francis was talking about George Griscom Jr., a 40-year-old man who inherited his money and had been romantically involved with Dorothy. In the summer of 1910, Dorothy had told her parents she was away visiting a friend in Boston, but she had spent a week in a hotel in Boston with George. Her parents only found out because she had to pawn her jewelry to finance her stay. Although they were forbidden to see each other anymore, they remained in contact until November. However, in the December of her disappearance, he was holidaying in Italy and had no idea about the disappearance. The Arnold family sent telegrams to him asking if he knew of Dorothy's whereabouts, to which he replied saying he knew nothing. In January, the month after her disappearance and before it was public knowledge, Dorothy's brother flew out to Italy and confronted him and even physically attacked him. Upon arrival back into the US, he announced he was planning on marrying Dorothy once she was found if her mother would approve, something which he claimed she would never do. Months after the disappearance, he put money, effort, and time on detectives and ads which asked Dorothy to come home, but this theory was ultimately abandoned.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Chip. I have a feeling we might have a runaway case on our hands. I know that not a lot points to the George guy, because supposedly he was on this Italian holiday, his a little escape to Europe. But there is something about this that just makes me think, or maybe I've watched too many movies, but you know where like the daughter who isn't enjoying the family wants to escape to the guy that she's been told she's not allowed to see. It's a little bit Shakespearean.
This is probably going to be a really stupid question, but it is 1910.
Yeah.
Was it planes that they used to get to Italy back then? Like, was it a commercial airliner? Like, what's this?
No, I think it was a ship. It would have been
I was
a ship.
just about to say,
they're not hopping on Virgin Airways to get there, but
no EasyJet back then. So this Donnie's took a ship all the way from New York to Italy.
That's what I mean. I just have a feeling that he knows more about it, or he's given her an address. Yeah. Meet me there. When I get back from Italy, we're gonna stay together.
That's why I was asking, because I was thinking, like, how easy would it be for Dorothy to just get out of New York, get herself on a ship, and get to Italy? Is that really going to be?
I think they would have figured that one out.
Going to be on there for 4 weeks, right? You're going to be on that ship for ages, however long it takes.
Let's not forget as well, when that lawyer first went to check the house when they invited him around, he did find those letters that were burnt that said about the ships that were leaving from the US to Europe. Did she go and meet him over there?
This is selling me.
I like this. I think this is the most likely one,
because
bro.
it's not like today's thing, you know, where you've got a manifesto on a plane and you can check who's on it and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you could just get on that ship. I was saying that you couldn't, but now I'm saying you can.
Yeah, I think she could have done. I think that, for me, anyway, so far is the most likely scenario.
Yeah, if you're telling me that there was leaflets being burnt up and it was like talking about ships from Europe to New York to Europe, come on.
I've got a question. Remember how you were saying about the postcard and what picture on it? Was it the picture of like Italy? Did it have the Amalfi Coast as its picture? Did it have Lake Como in the image?
That would really tie things up. She's in Italy. She's got to be.
The only thing that goes against that, though, is the fact that the book, George actually came back.
He did.
And then he started spending money on the search as well. Did he just do that to throw everyone off the scent that it could have been him that she's gone to go and visit?
It's all a ruse, you know?
Yeah.
It could be. If he's got the money to do that. He comes back announcing he's going to marry her, spending all his money on the investigation, the posters and everything, and the reward. He could just be throwing everyone off the scent, and she's just back in Italy. He's
waiting.
He does all this for a month or two.
Yeah.
They obviously think, scrap it, it is what it is. Bounces back over to Italy.
Or just to somewhere Europe. Maybe she said, right, come meet me back in London.
Anywhere. Happily ever after.
She could be in Hackney right now, East London. Dorothy, if you're there, we'll have you on the podcast.
She'll be on a Zimmer frame, that's for sure.
Yeah, she'll be lucky to be on a Zimmer frame.
Theory number 4. Dorothy was an aspiring writer, and both her pieces were rejected. She was also in a forbidden romance with Griscom, which could be a reason for her to take her own life. However, there were no reports or claims that Dorothy was acting strange or depressed before her disappearance, signs which could have indicated her intent to take her own life.
Okay, we got a bit of bonus content here, right? This one's from Reddit. Now, apparently, in a letter after the rejection, she wrote to George Griscom and said, well, it has come back. McClure's has turned me down. Failures stares me right in the face. All I can see ahead is a long road with no turning. Mother will always think an accident has happened.
Wow, what does that mean at the end? Mother will think an accident has happened. Is she referencing the idea that it was planned? Hopefully her mother will always believe it's an accident?
Yeah.
Is that what she's saying there?
Maybe she was expecting people to... I really don't know what to make of that.
Out of context.
Also, I don't want to put too much thought into this because it is just, the source is Reddit.
That's
right?
true.
And as good as stuff they do come up with, I'm sure there's probably a little bit of fantasy knocking around on Reddit. But...
take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I don't know. I don't think suicide is probably the one. Like, the letters of rejection, she was still part of a very wealthy family. Like, 2 rejections, I don't know. It's a possibility. It's not my number one theory.
There's not too much backing it up. Yeah.
Theory number 5. It was put forward that maybe Dorothy had become pregnant and died after an unsafe procedure. There was an illegal abortion clinic in Pennsylvania which was raided in April 1916, which was named the House of Mystery, as many women from the area who went there for abortions went missing. One of the doctors testified to the New York DA that Dorothy had died from an abortion and was cremated. Her family spoke out and said the theory was ludicrous.
The timings. That is super interesting here because if we think about it, right, so she spent the summer of 1910 in a hotel with George, right? Now moving forward to like November, December time when the disappearance stuff, you could say maybe 3 months, like 12 weeks, 14. Yeah. I mean, though that's enough time. That's about the normal time people find out that they're pregnant and all of that happens. And so especially if it is this high class family and they go, well, we can't have this. This isn't right. You need to, or like this isn't someone that we want you to have a child with. You need to go to one of these illegal abortion clinics and have this done. Her family has almost forced her to go to this house of mystery and have one of these abortions. She goes there, and because it's notorious that women go missing from going to this place, is that what happened? The family were there like, well, we can't come out and say to the police we sent her to one of these abortion clinics.
Yeah,
because that will make the family look even worse. And that That would be a massive scandal. So this theory, actually, for me, isn't that bad. The only thing is, it is a kind of a reach because we have no real proof that she was pregnant. We really would be completely theorizing that she got pregnant in this like hotel stay with him. You know what I mean? Like if there was proof that she had found out she was pregnant, then for me, like I would be way more set on this theory.
Yeah, it's not much tying them to the idea that they went to Pennsylvania and did this.
Did it? Yeah, that's what I mean.
It just got raided in 1916 and they're just thinking it's like a really...
Yeah, it's just a reach. It is a reach. But I just think the timings is what makes this theory actually a bit more plausible.
Yeah, and I mean, you got one of the doctors did testify that Dorothy had died from an abortion and cremated. So that adds something to it. Yeah. But the family saying the theory was ludicrous because the family don't.
Well, because that would look terrible for them, right?
Like you said. The doctor that testified, there's got to be more on that. Like, if a doctor has testified and said that Dorothy was there and died and got cremated, like, why would he say that? What's his? Why would he just say that?
It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit like
strange.
Yeah, but then again, some people just like the attention and So
I mean, he was going down anyway because he was one of the doctors that worked there and it was legal. So
theory number 6. Felon Edward Glenoris claimed he was paid money to bury the body of a young woman in December 1910 by somebody called Little Louis. At first, he was to drive a woman from point A in New Rochelle to point B by West Point. When he arrived to pick up the woman, it was Edward, a man who went under the name Little Louis, a man called Doc, and a well-dressed man who faked Griscom's description. But that was not confirmed. On the drive, the woman in the car was unconscious, and Little Louis allegedly told Edward this was Dorothy. The next day, Edward was told she was dead and was told to return to point A to bury her. Edward had told the prison warden this story in April 1916, as he was trying to, quote, find God. But once he was interrogated and interviewed by law enforcement, he claimed he didn't know what he was talking about. After some more interrogation, in April 1916, detectives went to a house which matched the description which Edward gave them. They found a broken area in the basement, but the caretaker claimed it was due to gas pipe problems. Still suspicious of the house, the police came back a couple of days later to dig up the spot and found a gas pipe, thus making the authorities stop believing in Edward's claims.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Chip. This theory, I just don't. I mean, we get a lot of already like inmates and prisoners wanting to claim things because it makes them a bit more notorious. It makes it seem a bit more badass, especially if it's like a relatively high-profile case, which we know this was. Yeah, it ended up getting a sort of like debunked a little bit, anyways, or enough for the police to be thrown off of the theory themselves. I'm not a big fan of it. It's a lot of hearsay.
Yeah, it's just a lot of, he said this happened, like it's
not enough concrete evidence for us.
Not enough going on for me, Chief.
So, out of those, Chip, which theories tickle your fancy?
I think she ran away.
You think she ran away?
I think she ran away. She's from a very strict family, wealthy. Got a reputation to protect. She was
failing as in her career wise as well.
She was probably being led down a path that she personally didn't want to be on, like a path that her family had chosen. Yeah, you're gonna do this. You're gonna get married to this kind of guy. You're gonna do this. And I think not everyone wants to do that. And she's probably gone, you know what? No, I don't have to do that, and ran away.
Okay, I like it. I mean, I think I agree with you. I think that for me is probably the number one. But let it be known that abortion one is a close second.
Yeah. When I found out the doctor thing, that's kind of At first I was thinking but the doctor testifying, you know what? That does lend some.
It gives it a bit more like credit. It's a bit more real.
Yeah. Like, why would he say that?
It's just so rogue, isn't it?
Just out of nowhere. Oh yeah, Dorothy. She died.
So there we have it, guys. That is this case. Now, just to give you guys a few updates on what's been happening since. In 1921, Captain J.H., who was the head of New York City Department of Missing Persons, announced to a student body that they knew the truth about Dorothy Arnold and had done so for many months. They said that both the police and the family knew, but when questioned the next day, Captain J.H. denied having ever said that. He said it was a misunderstanding. So, was it a case of, guys, we actually found out that she did go to this abortion clinic, but remember, the family are really high up here. They could have easily said to the police, look, we don't want this getting out. It doesn't go out. we leave it here. Leave it. You know, so that's another reason why that might be the one. Again, maybe they found out that she had actually left the country and fled, and they said, for the sake of the family, we don't want it getting out. But, you know, between the two of us, we both know what happened. That could very well be the case, by the way. Look, the family kept on receiving letters from people claiming to be Dorothy, but they so strongly believed that she was murdered that they had written her out of their wills. In it, they wrote, "I have made no provision for my beloved daughter, Dorothy Arnold, as I am satisfied that she is not alive."
Satisfied she's not alive because you did send her to the abortion clinic and you know she died there?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chip, you said it, not me. They also, but the only thing here, again, and it might be because they wanted to throw people off the scent, is the fact that they still spent about $250,000 trying to find Dorothy. That is no small amount of money.
That, to me, though, when you're a family that in this day and age is meant to be the equivalent to like the Rockefeller family, that to me is chump change, and I would spend that if I was trying to cover it up.
True. Her parents died in the years following in 1922 and 1928. And then even in 1935, 25 years after, there were still tips and reports coming in. People looking for that free cash? I don't know, but look, this for me was really interesting, and it's almost just, it's hard to put yourself back in 1910, because I think things were so different back then.
It's one of those cases that it's just probably never going to get solved. It's 1910.
Bro, we're 110 years on.
No witnesses or anyone still cutting about. You'd really need to just stumble into like a
gold mine
of evidence to get this done.
Anyways, guys, that wraps it up. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Chip, tell them what else they need to do.
Turn on notifications on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify because we also upload the episodes there. And on Friday, one of the coming Fridays, not sure if it's this Friday, but there will be a new show starting, Forensic Fridays, with our new host, Arthur P.I. And it will be running alongside Mystery Mondays. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be great. We'll see you next Monday.